Yo, it's Amir from Full Circle Media, and we're trying something new on the channel. This is what I'm going to call monthly media recaps. They'll probably go out on Mondays, so I'll call them the Media Mondays. And the idea about this concept is that monthly I want to cover the forms of media that I have taken a part of um, through the month. So you know that this channel it's primarily I post video games and things because that's um the form of capture that I have the most accessible. Like I have a PS5 and I can play games and upload gameplay very quickly. But it's not the only form of media that I plan to cover on the channel, and that's where this comes in. It gives me a way to accumulate just a bunch of media material and put it all in one video while also not taking away from what I'm trying to do on some of the gaming videos and things I'm doing. So yeah, just a disclaimer, I am planning on speaking from my own bias. So the videos, the music and movies and TV shows I'm watching are based on my taste. So I'm gonna have my own opinion, and if you have your own, it's totally fine. Nobody's uh, discouraging you from having your own opinion, and um, yeah, I think that this is just things I'm interested in. So if you haven't heard of these things, if you haven't heard of the projects or the music I'm going to mention, that's cool. And if you have your own opinion, that's great. And but if you have heard the music and you don't agree, that's cool. It's from my own bias, and I'm not going to like all the music that I put on this list. I'm going to say things about the music that you might not agree with, and that's cool. Uh, just knowing that I'm coming from a place of bias, and that's sort of how I'm trying to center this channel. Is this is me speaking about what I'm passionate about. So yeah, let's just jump right into it with our first entry. So as you've seen that's come across the screen, our first entry is Tyler the Creator's "Call Me If You Get Lost" Real Estate. Is that what it's called? Yeah, I think it's his deluxe to his 2022 album that dropped. And honestly, it was one of the better albums of that year, in my opinion. And yeah, so I think that I made a pros and cons. So the pros for this album is that the bonus songs really add to the quality of the overall project. These are basically throwaway songs that didn't make it onto the original release, and so they were re-released. And it's a good amount of them. It's like if I'm not, let me check really quick. I don't want to be wrong. They were like, let's check. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. There were eight new songs on the deluxe of this project, so that's really good. And they all, I wouldn't say that any of them needed to be taken off, in my opinion. Um, yeah, so I think that Tyler's really going hard. It seems like these added songs, some of them really closed out the era of music that Tyler's trying to make. He one of the songs, I forget what name it is. Um, I think it's "Everything Must Go," where Tyler is really the music video specifically, where you can see the different eras of Tyler the Creator that were, his earlier self, where his subject matter, the things he talked about were a bit more uh, immature and edgy, and there's nothing wrong with that, just in general. Uh, but you can see him have these different personas or these different characters that were of his different selves, and how he's evolved over time to where the subject matter is different. You see him using uh, slurs and derogatory language from him to speak, especially about gay people and things like that. From him saying the F word, I don't want to say it because I don't like that word, and from him going to you know Flower Boy, where I didn't really listen, to be honest. I wasn't the biggest fan of Tyler the Creator in his earlier works, but Flower Boy is a project that really um, grabbed me and made me listen to his music more often. So Flower Boy was a big evolution for his music taste in terms of how he opened up as being uh somebody who was attracted to men, even though you would think that based off the language he used in his prior projects that he wasn't. And he opened up to his viewers and also to himself about who he really was. And so I think that this song and this project really closes out the era that is right now. And moving forward, I'm pretty sure that going forward, uh, he's only gonna improve in terms of the quality of his music, where he's producing his own songs and at least a good majority of them. And yeah, it's all quality. Every time he drops, in my opinion, it's never anything bad to come out from him. So yeah, I thought these songs were a really good addition to the quality project that he dropped in 2022 to release this in 2023. My only con that I wrote down was I was confused why these songs weren't originally included in the project. I mean, I can understand like some of them. Uh, there's always that deluxe feel where it's like some of these songs are detached from what the main message of the original project was. But at the same time, I still think that each of these songs were really good and the features were really good. I don't know why these were throwaways in my opinion. So yeah, I think this is an overall really good project. And if I were to give it three ratings out of a pass, a you should check it out, or you gotta check it out, I would give it a you gotta check it out because it's a really good project, like I said, and these songs only add to the quality of the project. Our next project is Larry June and the Alchemist, The Great Escape. Um, to be honest with you, I never heard of Larry June before this album. Uh, for people who know me, especially my friends, you'll know that the reason I listened to this album was because of one person and one person only, Big Sean. And his feature on this album was incredible. It was I think the lead single for the project, and yeah, like Larry June, he's a good rapper. I like his flow and his cadence. It's more, um, he has a a slow flow and cadence. He doesn't rap fast paced. He's more of like a calm, cool, and collected. You can digest what he's saying, uh, for the most part. And so yeah, I liked that. Big Sean's verse. I'll just speak about him because this is my video. Big Sean's verse started off where he's using the original flow. Uh, he's using Larry June's flow. He's matching it at least, and then he goes and brings his own tempo where he speeds it up and he's throwing bars out there, and then he sort of slows it down again, but he's still going hard. And so I like that about the song. And so yeah, that was my original introduction to Larry June, and I said, you know what, why not check it out? Both this and Tyler the Creator's project dropped on March 31st, so it's sort of in March, but it's one day away from April, so I thought I would include it. Um, but yeah, I think that this project was a very good first introduction to his music, in my opinion, and that was a pro of mine. I put that it had great production from The Alchemist that complements Larry June's flow and cadence. I thought that they were a perfect match for this. Um, a few nitpicks. Well, the con I had, I feel like it's a nitpick. I don't want to give a project a perfect rating or anything. Um, but I thought that Larry June was sometimes overshadowed by his features. Um, some of them were Action Bronson, Big Sean. Uh, who else was on this album? Uh, Bodie James did really good. Wiz Khalifa did good. Joey. Uh, so yeah, I think that sometimes he was overshadowed just a bit, but not in a bad way. I think he still held his own, and it doesn't take away from the quality of the project. Um, so yeah, if you on a three scale rating that I just came up with, I would give it a. You should check it out. I don't think it's a must listen to, especially if you don't like hip hop in general. Uh, I also think that on this album, homie, uh, Larry June. I was gonna say homie. he isn't really talking about too much. I mean, he likes to speak on he brags. You know how rappers are, they're braggadocious. Um, he also speaks about cars. He likes cars a lot. He'll, ride around in my four wheeler, my Beamer, type of conversation. But it's not a bad listen. I really liked it, and I think you should check it out if you have the time. Next on the list, we have Logic and C. Castro with their EP from their new collaborative rap group Half Breed, and it's called the 3P. It's like EP, but like replaced with a three, and it's also got three songs. Um, and this EP was really good in my opinion. Logic just dropped a album not too long ago called College Park, where it's based off of he grew up in College Park, Maryland. It's more about his roots and how he came up and the early days where he was trying to chase his dream of becoming a rapper. And I guess I don't know too much about C. Castro, but I think him and they're pretty close. I think that they were friends in his come up in his rapping days. Yeah, I think that I, I heard a little bit about C. Castro. He was on the College Park, and the songs that they had together were really good. So to hear these two have a rap group, I was pretty excited about it. Um, and I think that with their project, them working together on it was really good. I thought that each of the different songs, and this is a pro, I thought that each of them covered a different style of rap that can be seen in Logic's discography. So the first song is uh, it's more boom bap. You know how Logic is, so it's more upbeat. Logic is throwing a lot of bars out there. Um, I think he does sing a little bit on this. If I'm not mistaken. Uh, and then C. Castro compliments Logic well in terms of uh, most of the time Logic goes first, and then C. Castro kind of comes in after that, and they kind of bounce off each other in my opinion. I thought that it was really nice. Um, how on each of these songs. So the first one is more of like his Bobby Tarantino days, if I'm not mistaken. Don't if you disagree, that's cool. Uh, I think that that's what she said is sort of in the line of what was uh what was that? Let me look up Logic's discography real quick. I don't want to be mistaken. Supermarket. Oh my goodness, I almost forgot about Supermarket. Uh, This is more in line of something that would appear on Supermarket. And not too many people, I like Supermarket because I read the book. But not too many people that I know who listen to Logic like Supermarket at all. But uh, Logic is singing, and I think has a verse. But then C. Castro compliments him extremely well, and the verse he puts is really nice. Like I really liked it. Um, and for the final song, it is called Game Six, I think. If I'm not mistaken, Game Six. Yes, Game Six. And I think there is some more singing on this, but it's more in tune of like uh let me go back. It's more reminiscent of like Logic's mixtapes or his recent like Vinyl Days album, uh, where it's a little more singing, but also Logic is spitting a little more slowly. And C. Castro uh, has a more emotional verse, I think, where you get to learn a little bit about his experience with women and accepting blame for what he's done in a relationship. And yeah, so overall, I thought that these two make a perfect duo almost. I would love to see them continue making music together. And if you are looking for something to listen to, I would say this is you gotta check it out. I don't wouldn't require it, but I think that if you like Logic and oh, sorry, my dog, she's barking at somebody. But if you like Logic, I think that this is something you gotta check out. And C. Castro holds his own, especially because if you don't know Logic, you probably haven't heard of this guy, but he does his own thing, and yeah, it was a pretty good project. Our next entry is Daniel Caesar's Never enough. This album, if I'm being honest, I'm not really the biggest R&B guy. Not to say I don't listen to it, because I really do. I really like R&B, but I find myself listening to more hip hop projects than usual, than R&B. But I think that Daniel Caesar had a better, one of the better albums of this year, um, because this project is really good. I think that Caesar is singing his butt off. Like, the vocals are incredible. Production is really good. Like, sometimes the bass will slow down, or the beat will, be. I like when artists are the focal point of whatever's happening, and that's apparent in this. Sometimes artists get overshadowed by what the production is doing, where, oh my god, the beat is really good, but the artist doesn't have much to say. I think that Daniel Caesar is contributing way more to this project than any other instrument or anything that's included on the project, in my opinion. And no song was like the other either. Um, I think that if you are a fan of Daniel Caesar, I have listened to a few of his projects. I'm not the biggest fan. Don't, if you have listened to his music, don't quote me, but I think that this project is a little bit more, a little different than some of his other ones, uh, in terms of the way he's singing on it. Um, and yeah, those are my two pluses. Those are my two pros. And I was really fishing for a con, so it's a nitpick. I'm reaching, but I'm trying. Uh, I wish that there were more features, at least on the original project. The original had Mustafa. I don't know who that is. Serpent with Feet, Omar Apollo, and Ty Dolla Sign. Uh, which isn't bad, but some of these songs could have benefited with a feature or so. Especially more R&B, or excuse me, more rap. Sometimes I feel like R&B and rap go really well together. Uh, and most of these are more singers, and so, anyways, that's a nitpick of mine. But this is solved by the deluxe album that released, I think, the week after that, and it had way more features. It had let me check. Bad, Bad, Not Good. Never heard of them before. Summer Walker and Rick Ross. And so I thought these songs are pretty good and didn't diminish the quality of the original project. So I feel like this is a definitely got to check it out. Definitely need to listen. I think that Daniel Caesar is singing his butt off, and the features did a great job. I think that in terms of R&B, this is probably the best R&B project that's released this year. And if you like R&B, you should definitely check it out. So the next entry is Damo Geniuses, No Idols, which I think is also, yep, it's produced by Alchemist as well. So Alchemist has been going crazy this year. Um, and yeah, Damo Genius is a member, or was a member, of Odd Future with Tyler the Creator, Frank Ocean, Sid, Earl Sweatshirt. So yeah, I wasn't really a big fan of Odd Future. I know some people ate up Odd Future and miss them to this day, and uh, I haven't. I didn't really listen to their music, but I am a fan of the people I just mentioned. Uh, so I thought I would just check it out because I heard Alchemist uh, produced the album, and I was just like, hey, why not check it out? And this album was pretty good. I like Damo Genius's the way he flows on it. Uh, it's a lyrical showcase, in my opinion, and it was a solid entry. To me, it was a solid introduction uh, to his music and his the way he raps. I would definitely check out another one of these albums. This one was pretty short. Had what, like 12 songs. It was 36 minutes long. Uh, had a few features from Earl Sweatshirt, Smoke, DZA. What was this? French. Oh, Freddie Gibbs. Yeah, Freddie Gibbs was on here. Earl Sweatshirt, Tyler the Creator. So it was a good amount of features. There's some other people also on here that I didn't mention. Uh, but yeah, the album was really good in my opinion. The only con I would say is that similar to Larry June, Damo sometimes get overshadowed by his features. Uh, Mainly, I think Earl Sweatshirt did pretty good, and Tyler the Creator did pretty good on this album. But that's a nitpick. It doesn't take away from the project. Uh, I think this is a gotta check it out. You know, I think that if you like the people I mentioned earlier and you like hip hop, you would love this project. Uh, if you aren't a big fan of hip hop, then that might be a pass, but that's up to you. And yeah, the last musical entry in this video is Jackman, Jack Harlow's recent album. Um, if you know me, you know I'm a pretty. I might say I'm the biggest Jack Harlow fan, but I think he's pretty fire. I really like his music, and his mixtapes were really good. He's got a few hit songs. I think those are decent. I mean, I don't really. What's Poppin' is cool, but I think that he has other songs in his discography that are much better, in my opinion. Um, and where he's speaking about something, he's putting his effort into his lyrics. He's just spitting off the top of his head, and I think that that's where Jack Harlow shines. And this is where this whole project is more of what Jack Harlow does best, in my opinion. So this is a huge, huge, huge improvement from his last album, uh, "Honey Come Home, the Kids Miss You." I think is what it's called, or "Come Home, the Kids Miss You." That album, in my opinion, was not the best. It felt like Jack Harlow kind of like expected. His label sort of came up to him and was like, "Hey, Jack Harlow, you got to drop an album right now. What do you have?" And he combined everything he had and just threw it together and said, "All right, cool." It didn't feel like it took much time for him to make. I thought there was going to be a deeper message behind the title, but even then, the title made no sense, had no correlation to what he was speaking about. But this album, Jackman, directly ties into what this album is supposed to be about. It's Jack Harlow speaking from his experience and what he's seen in his community and how he grew up. And he speaks on uh, having to deal with friends that he grew up with, doing some terrible things, and having to balance whether he should stick by their side or you know push them to the side as if they never were friends to begin with, despite the horrible things they've done. Um, he also speaks on his relationship with his dad, his mom, his siblings, and how he, has become the man he is today, but also the experiences that he went through and how he regrets certain things uh, that he did as a kid, and how now his relationships with those same people are fractured in a way, and he can't really do anything about it. I think that this is one of Jack Harlow's best projects. I wouldn't say it's his best of all time. Uh, I think that the no feature thing also, he has no features on the album, and I think that that works best because it allows him to speak his mind. And it would be kind of awkward for Jackman to have a feature on it, if I'm being honest. But yeah, so I think that he gives insight on things he can relate to, and he speaks about issues that mean a lot to him, and it shows in the crafting of the album. He's spitting on. I like the samples used, as, gang, gang, gang. Uh, in some of the album, I think the first track of the album, I forget what it's called. Good Common Sense. It might not Good Sense or something like that. That one uses samples, and Jack Harlow like bounces off of them. He doesn't rely on the sample. I think that if he didn't have it, he would still have a good project. But um, just having them brings out the best in him. I think he's rapping his butt off, in my opinion. Um, the only con I could think of is the project is really short. It's like uh 10 songs. It's like 10 to 12 songs, and it's like 24 minutes long. Uh, and I wish he had done this style of rapping on his previous project, and I think I wish that he does it moving forward. This is the Jack Harlow that I think his fans have fallen in love with, and even he knows it. I think he mentions it on the project of how people expect great things out of him, and he doesn't want to let them down. But he also, knows he has great potential, and he's just going to give it his all because he's worked his butt off to get here to this position. So I think that knowing that he should continue to put his best effort in and to continue this style of music moving forward because this is a definitely got to check it out for people who are fans of hip hop. Um, you can make your own opinion about it. I don't think that you have to love the project, but if you've heard a song by him, if you've heard What's Poppin' or Tyler Hero, some of his hit songs, I think listening to this project will give you more perspective about him as a rapper, and you'll see that he's more than just the hit songs that he makes and the clout that he brings to rap as in general. So yeah, I think you definitely got to check this out. So we've covered all the musical entries in the on this episode on this video. This is moving on to the movies, and the first of two movies that I saw this month were the Super Mario movie. I think I went into detail, or I explained a little bit about this on one of my The Last of Us playthroughs. One of my friends, Charleston, if you're watching this, he's a really big Mario fan. I grew up more on Sonic, but I've played Mario, and I knew he would be excited about it, so I knew I wanted to see it. So I was talking to one of my other friends, Alan, and we decided, he was able to get us some free tickets, and the three of us plus my girlfriend Nala, we went to go see it. And my expectations were this movie's free. I know the hype about it. It's a video game movie. If there's been video game movies in the past, Sonic the Hedgehog, uh, Detective Pikachu. Uh, there've been video games and movies in the past, and some of them aren't. I wasn't expecting like a masterpiece or anything, so my expectations were pretty low, and I came out of the movie loving it. I think that there's no real one single video game influence for this movie. It doesn't take the events of the first Super Mario movie and take inspiration from that. I think it takes the whole Mario IP in consideration and creates its own unique story that can't be found anywhere else, which I thought was pretty cool. Um, and there's tons of Easter eggs for longtime fans to where some people I heard on like Twitter and things watched the movie 5 different times. That couldn't be me. And they were able to find something new every single time they went to go see it. There's a lot for the fans to digest. There's also different hints towards Mario's future. You see uh, the bricks. You see Mario punch a brick, or you see the Super Mario theme song that was in one of the older um, Mario movies from the 90s or something like that. I didn't see it, so I don't know. Um, so yeah, those are my pros. This movie was really good. It's a kids movie, so if you're an adult, don't expect anything serious or you know any adult themes are like that. But you can find yourself as an adult enjoying the movie, especially if you were a fan of Mario growing up. Uh, the cons for me were I thought that there were a few awkward moments for characters like Donkey Kong, excuse me, um, and Luigi. Luigi, you would think that Luigi would get the same amount of shine as Mario, but for the most of the movie, he's captured and sort of has to play the damsel of distress, where he's like, "Oh, help me, Mario!" And then out of nowhere, he just pops up and saves the day with Mario at the very end. you know, it is what it is. But I thought that was a little bit weird. Donkey Kong turns out to be he has a little rivalry with Mario at first, but then out of nowhere they team up together and uh have an epic moment I see, but uh yeah, that was a little awkward in my opinion. Uh there's also the end credit scene had Luigi, not sorry, not Luigi, Yoshi was hinted at Yoshi being included in the next film, but for me that didn't make too much sense because it was like this grand moment where it was supposed to hint towards something like, oh, look at this egg. What do you think it is? Like, we know it's Yoshi. We've seen a bunch of Yoshi creatures in the movie. So why not have Yoshi introduce himself to Mario and Luigi at least if that's how you're going to do it? Um, but again, I think that's probably a nitpick of mine. And yeah, I think that this movie is you got to check out. I don't think it's definitely check it out. I don't think you're required to. Um, but if you like video games and you grew up with Mario, I think that there's something here for you. Um, if not, I would say you might want to pass just because there's a lot of video game references in here that you might not understand and comprehend, and that's okay. So yeah, that's my opinion about Mario. The second and last movie entry in this video is the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves movie. And growing up, I had always heard about Dungeons and Dragons from like everybody's had those group of kids in like middle school or high school who were the weirdos, like the really weird guys who would like run around with the Naruto run and stuff. I'm not trying to discriminate against anybody, but just there was a certain group of people who played Dungeons and Dragons, and it's not that well known in my opinion. Um, but I think watching it in like Stranger Things and other media made me a bit interested. I wouldn't mind have played it with my group of friends, but we never had a chance to. Uh, so yeah, that's my introduction to Dungeons and Dragons. And so when I heard the movie was coming out, I had my own initial reaction to it. I said, "This is probably gonna be trash. Who thought of this? Why is Chris Pine and all these famous actors in here? Who's paying them this much money? It must be a lot because they're in this movie." And I came out uh, I heard reviews saying it was really good, and so I was like, "Whoa, like, what, what's going on here?" So I took my girlfriend to go see it, and I came out of the theater really liking it. I thought that the cast of characters here were uh, enjoyable. Chris Pine's character is really cool. Uh, I liked, yeah, all the characters are really cool in my opinion. Their jokes, the jokes in the movie. Some of them are corny, I'm gonna admit, but not too many of them. Like I think there's a fine line between corny and perfect humor, and I think that this movie, um, switches between the two. There's like a corny scenario that you expect to play out, and the movie will twist it to where it becomes something funny, or you're able to laugh at it. I found myself laughing at this movie quite a bit. And I thought that the scope of this D&D world was captured perfectly. Sometimes the characters would travel places, and you could just see the wide scope of things to where um, the place that the journey they're trying to go on is huge in scope. They're not just going, it's not just the small town they're in. Sometimes they're traveling across different lands, encountering different people. Um, Sometimes they're in dungeons. Sometimes they're in like royal castles. Sometimes they're uh, riding horseback on a wagon. I thought it was perfect in terms of capturing this world for the movie, uh, for film watchers. Uh, the only con I had was that I wish there was a bit more at stake. Um, Sometimes I just knew that the heroes were gonna win. Like they're the heist that they're going on isn't necessarily literal. Chris Pine's character is trying to win back his daughter and also retrieve this artifact that can bring back a dead person. who in his mind he's trying to bring back his wife, who he lost um, early on in his daughter's life, and so um, you kind of know that Chris Pine is going to get the job done. You know, he knows he's going to get reunited with his daughter, but I wish that there was a bit more at stake for the other characters. You know, they're just kind of tagging along with Chris Pine and assisting him, and you know, you're not. There's never a moment in this movie where you're thinking, "Ooh, these characters might not make it through." You know, sometimes the characters even doubt themselves. They'll be like, "Oh, this is ridiculous. Like, how are we gonna make this happen?" But you know that there's a way. I wish that there was a bit. Uh, I wish there was more threads. You know, some of the characters who oppose the main cast, except for one. One is really overpowered, but the rest of them don't really pose that much of a threat, in my opinion. Um, and so, yeah, that's what I feel about the Dungeons and Dragons movie. I think that this is one that you probably want to check out. I wouldn't say it's a definitely because people who aren't fantasy watchers probably won't find themselves interested in this type of movie. But I think that for those people who are open to her, who are able to open their minds up to something like this, I think that this would be a great movie to make you second guess your expectations for what you expect this movie to be, and you'll find yourself enjoying it. All right, and our last entry of this video is a show, and it's probably one of the best shows I've watched in recent memory. Snowfall. Um, this series is basically about a kid. His name is Franklin, a black kid in the I forget what years this is, 60s, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And you know, this is the rise of drugs. You know, there's cocaine, um, weed, there's crack, and this is the rise of this drug being distributed across major communities, black communities, Hispanic communities, also the white community, as well as uh, to other countries. So like the you know, Cuba is mentioned. There's Panama, in other countries, the Middle East. So it's this series really does a good job of introducing you to how dangerous drugs were at this time period. Um, but the main character, Franklin Saint, is uh, looking for a way to gain uh, belonging in the world. You know, he's attempted to go the perfect route. He was born in California, and he was born in a poor community at that. So, you know, he was raised by his mom, and he grew up with his dad, but his dad, something happens to him and he's separated from the family. Um, but you see that Franklin has tried for a while. You know, he went to school, he got good grades, he went to college, and you could just tell that the world that he grew up in never would accept him, and that he would never find a belonging in the world that he was conditioned to try to fit in and prevail in. And so Franklin takes matters into his own hands, and he goes, you know, if you're not going to give me a way to succeed, I'm going to make my own way. And he makes it um, through becoming a drug lord, and he is a great character. I think that the all the main cast of characters are amazing. There's Teddy McDonald, who is a CIA agent who is also a drug. Uh, I wouldn't call him. Yeah, he's kind of a kingpin, but he works for the government, and so um, he has to learn. He has to fit in with these groups of criminals, and also make himself seem as one, and raise money for the government so they can fund a war. There's also Gustavo, who is a Mexican wrestler who gives up his life of wrestling to get into the drug industry, and you know, you see how that plays out for him throughout the series. and now his life changes because of it. He could become somebody who serves as a subordinate, but he takes matters in his own hands and said, "No, you're not going to make me somebody who does your dirty work. I'm going to be involved in this." Um, and so, yeah, the story is incredible. I think that there was no boring episode in the entire 6 seasons of this series. Um, I found me and my girlfriend, we were binge watching the entire thing, and it would be some days where we would finish a whole season in a matter of 1 or 2 days. Um, and it's yeah, I think that the cast of characters that I just mentioned, as well as some other ones, are fantastic, and you find yourself deeply invested in their endeavors. Um, I think that one of the cons I have, the only con that I could think of for this series, is that some characters have better character arcs than others. For those who have watched, you'll know Wanda, Jerome, and Sissy all have pretty good character arcs in terms of, they're this way at the beginning and you find themselves developing and growing into a different person towards the end. Um, Compared to characters like Franklin, who um, he's a great character to begin with, but you find him spiraling out of control towards the end of the series. And it's not a bad thing, it's just that sometimes these other characters are, you find yourself more invested in these other characters. Franklin, I'm not trying to say you don't find him invested in him because you do. He's a great character, but there's a divide between people who hate his character and hate who he became versus others who understand what he went through and sort of talk down about some of the other characters. One of them being Louie, who is Franklin's aunt, who helped him get into the business, but then became greedy and wanted to get her own, find her own way in this drug industry. Also, Leon, who is Franklin's right hand man and really his best friend, who is a hothead at first and becomes to look out for himself and his people in the projects where he grew up. Um, so yeah, I love this series, this TV show, and I think this is a definitely got to check it out. No questions asked. I think that if you have the time, you go to HBO, you click the first episode, and you see how you like it. If you don't like it, you can blame me. You could say, "Oh, why would you recommend this?" But if you like that first episode, you are in for a treat. It is incredible. I really love this TV show. All right, and I've wrapped up the entire video. I've mentioned. Let me go down the list just to recap. We have Tyler the Creator's "Call Me If You Get Lost," the real estate. Really good project. You've got Larry June and The Alchemist, The Great Escape. You got Logic and C. Castro's 3P. You got Daniel Caesar's Never Enough, Damo Geniuses, and The Alchemist No Idols, and Jack Harlow's Jackman being my musical entries for this video. The movies I mentioned were the Super Mario Bros. Movie and Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. And finally, we have our TV show, our single TV show entry. We have Snowfall. Um, so yeah, thank you guys for watching. Um, this is my first video in this style, so give me some credit. I think that I'm gonna try to be a little more detailed in terms of what I think about these songs, and I moving forward, I definitely moving into May, I'm gonna be more detailed about why I like these projects and what I think about them and the overall scope of them. Um, that's what I plan to do in future episodes in this series. But for right now, I think this is a pretty solid list. I am proud of what I've been able to accomplish in this video, and I hope you are too. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next month with the new entry. All right, peace.